So last night was very, very cool. It was super powerful. A lot of people came up to me afterwards and said that it was one of the most powerful experiences they've had in a long time, if ever. And the interesting part that came about of all of it actually happened afterwards. A few people that were there invited me out to dinner at the restaurant next door afterwards. So I said, why not? And I went and I joined them. And I joined them basically within 10 minutes after the workshop. And when I joined them, what was really interesting was the conversation that I jumped into. And what they were saying was, due to the introspection that the meditation allowed them to go in, to go within, to see, to just be more connected with themselves, the caliber of conversation that was at the table afterwards was more deep than any of them have had beyond that, before that, because they were all expressing their feelings, their deeper insights, the way they looked and felt and experienced this meditation, and the memories that came up and the surprising things that happened to them. So the interesting part, and this actually happened before I even started doing meditative workshops a long time ago when I first started speaking, and I was speaking about the Holocaust and tolerance, and that was really the first reason I began speaking, was on that platform. And my first audiences were 16-year-olds, high schoolers, and then went on to conferences and other things like that. Yet what was most interesting and hi everyone that's here, what was most interesting was the fact that these young kids afterwards, after exposing these thoughts and these feelings and higher level thinking, the kids afterwards became a lot more connected and were able to just speak in an open way. And so that's kind of continued. And now even more so, after doing these deep level meditations in a group way, where people are really being exposed to themselves, really understanding themselves, and then they want to share and connect what they felt. It's kind of tremendous because people can go home and be fully honest with these deep things they saw, and they really start speaking. So that was kind of the impression that I had last night, is the fact that people should start getting real, and we should stop having these shallow conversations that no one really cares about, and we should stop asking how are you if we really don't care, and we should go there quickly. So it's other than just the good feelings that come from doing these kind of hypnotic meditations, the transcendent piece is the opening of your vocal cords and the free expression of connection with what you actually really want to say. So that was really insightful. And the more and more that people kind of became insightful about who they are and what they're aspiring to be, or whatever it is, the deeper the conversation was with these people that I met up with afterwards for dinner, and just the caliber of what we were sharing and the exposure of our inner thoughts and was really cool. It was just a different experience, and it just set the tone for an awesome night afterwards. So forget about the workshop. It's literally about just opening up, cracking that open, and saying it's okay to, everyone has multiple sides to them, and exploring that and really being open to that. And the cool part also is afterwards, when I came home, I was going to go out with my friends, people that were in town, and I was just exhausted, so I didn't. Yet the caliber of conversation coming home also from the meditation afterwards, and coming home from dinner when we were speaking, he was mentioning to me that he is part of this men's group, that they are like these high caliber people, and they mastermind, and they're really, really interesting and all this stuff, and they love to share, but they don't invite women. And I thought that was really interesting. And then we were also talking about, well, what if there were a few women and all the vulnerabilities that men have, and if they have this kind of neutral woman that's not their wife or not their girlfriend, then it could be a great way to just give this experimental exposure of, this is how I feel, and I'm testing it out in being open like this. So when you actually do go home, it's not as intimidating to just really be expressive of what you're actually thinking. And that brings me to my last point, which is the get real part. So I often, since I had this kind of shift in thinking and personality even, I came from a very mainstream, rational family, very science-minded, very politics history, and then I started kind of having, through different experiences, and most of you that know me by now know a little bit of my life story, but through these different life experiences, I started having these interesting thoughts that for a long time I just kept to myself. And then on top of that, when I became a hypnotist and I just jumped into this esoteric world, slowly, because it started very, very technique oriented and very practical oriented. And then it jumped more and more into what it is now, which is just magical and really, really cool and interesting. I filtered everything I said because I was very afraid of not being understood by my family and friends who knew me as one thing. And as I was evolving into this new thing, it was very scary for me and it was very different for me. And I was very intimidated to be myself and really expose my deep inner thoughts. And I just got a little sad face, and it's the truth. It's the truth. I was very afraid of change and changing into this new individual who had these very interesting thoughts that I couldn't share with anyone. So now I'm over that, thank goodness. I'm over that, and I realize that the more and more I become connected with my thoughts and the more and more I share them, no matter how weird people might think they are, the more and more I meet interesting people, interesting, weird, amazing people that I connect with, the more and more I'm real about who I am and unafraid to be who I am, the more and more I just have opportunities show up, and that actually people pay me to be weird and express myself and say these things that are on my mind. And a couple years ago, I could never have imagined being so public about these interesting thoughts, and these interesting thoughts that are a little bit mystical in the way they are, but they're all really just through trial and error and through experience with working with people's minds, and kind of scientific now. So I'm so happy to just share this with you today. And just the message, just to kind of wrap it up, is that may we all be very aware of who we are. May we be unafraid of who we are. And may we share that with the world, because the biggest gift is when you can just be free and be liberated in your own thought processes. And it's exciting. So for any of those who think that their duality should not be shared, then this is my invitation to just be weird. Okay, thank you. See you. Bye.